Alright, bull runners, welcome back to the channel. So today we're diving into some key insights about the upcoming 5th annual BRICS Summit that is going to be held in Johannesburg, South Africa this month, and how this plays into XRP and what is most likely to happen the rest of this year that you need to be ready for before it happens. So if you're unfamiliar, the BRICS nations, it stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, and they are discussing various important topics on August 22nd. And one key aspect that will be on their agenda for this up and coming meeting is going to be how each country is going to move money globally without the need for the US dollar due to its obvious decline in spending power and abuse of power through sanctions for oil that the government has been putting on countries over the past few decades. And one of the primary challenges of implementing a single currency amongst the BRICS nations is the establishment of a regulatory authority, which isn't going to be easy for them because there's big sovereignty concerns, and each of the BRICS nations has its own unique economic and financial policies that has been developed to suit specific circumstances for each country, and their leaders all have their own policies and cultures that they don't want to let go of. So, if you're trying to change a power that be, which is the global reserve currency, the US dollar, that's been running for 79 years, and you're trying to come up with a new currency, well, this authority would need to synchronize macroeconomic and monetary policies across all member nations for a new currency. And these policies would cover crucial areas like printing money, managing inflation, setting interest rates, and ensuring the stability of the currency so it's not devalued by constant printing of more US dollars, because as the US prints more money, well, then that destroys other countries' currencies because the US dollar is the global reserve currency, and establishing a regulatory authority means delegating significant decision-making power to a centralized body, which isn't easy to do, and it would take a lot of time regardless for them to even pull off. So this is raising some concerns about, which countries or representatives hold influence over the decisions in the BRICS nations, potentially leading to disputes and disagreements. And as you guys know, Vladimir Putin, would be arrested if he stepped foot in Africa due to war crimes. So these countries might seem like they're allies, but it's allies based on convenience because they don't like the United States. And it's likely that a new or existing institution specifically created for this specific purpose would need to be created, and a company like Ripple could help in making the process easier for their central banks to send and receive money without worrying about one currency having all the centralized control, because they could use the XRP ledger with multiple currencies rather than just one. So while influential organizations like the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, or the World Economic Forum, the WEF, have roles on a global financial stage, as much as people want to say that, they just want to control everything and everyone, throttle your payments, and they want to make you eat bugs, having one currency that you would use for everything, managing a single currency for a specific group of countries is typically not their domain, and it's not what they do. So interestingly enough, an alternative proposal gaining traction is the idea of a BRICS payment system rather than one currency, because they're each working on their own currencies. They're each working on their CBDCs through the central banks, and the ISO 20022 standard will become the universal standard for high or large value payments of all reserve currencies by 2025. This system would enable seamless settlements among member countries using distributed ledger technology, regardless of whether their country's currencies are backed by gold and other precious metals or not. So bottom line is the multi-currency payment approach would reduce reliance on the US dollar in one entity, allowing transactions between the BRICS nations without needing the dollar as the intermediary through, the old SWIFT system. So the ISO new standard is stating that this standard can adapt to new needs and new approaches and will not be controlled by a single entity, but rather be used by anyone in the industry and implemented on any network. And this is a significant development because the collective influence of the BRICS nations can't be ignored. That's why it's being talked about all over the world right now in the finance space. So as you subscribe to the channel and you like this video, we're going to be covering this information so you can understand what's going on, because together the BRICS nations contribute to over 1/3 of the world's GDP and have a total population of around 3 billion people. So to put that into perspective, the population of the United States, it's only about 330 million people. China alone has 1.4 billion. It's insane. They're everywhere, right? India has 1.4 billion, just as much as China. Brazil has 214 million. Russia has about 143 million people, and South Africa has 59 million people. So it's worth noting that the BRICS countries have already launched, what's called a new development bank that allows their influence to continue to expand and grow. In fact, more than 40 countries as well have expressed interest in joining or formally applying to become part of the BRICS Alliance. And last week, I personally applied for us, but unfortunately, hey, the bull runners, we're not a country yet, so we need your help here, okay? If you want us to start our own country and make XRP our reserve currency, then all you gotta do, tap that subscribe button and like this video, and we will highly consider that when we review your citizenship application. So I'll make sure that if we become a country, there'll be a cheesecake factory on every single street corner, all right? There's gonna be no taxes for citizens, and we'll make Taco Tuesday be mandatory as a holiday, okay? So if that sounds fair enough, then let me know what you think our commandments should be. I'm really curious. Comment the national anthem, what should it say below? We are the land of the free, home of the bullish, my guy. So let's back up the truck all the way to the bank, grab the bags, pack them, and stack them, because everyone that is paying attention right now to what's happening with the BRICS nations are doing that and thinking that they're creating a one world currency and it's going to be backed by precious metals and it's going to be a new currency. And while that could happen, in reality, what they're talking about is having multiple central banking digital currencies all communicating with each other through distributed ledger technology with the ISO standard by 2025. And we already know virtually every major bank, central bank in the world has been working on their CBDCs with the new ISO standard. And over 90% of central banks are pursuing CBDCs. And there's been tons of reports saying Ripple's CBDC platform will help them. And Ripple's already partnered with massive banks around the world, but it does not require XRP to operate. And central banks do not use or interact with the token. That's what a lot of people have been saying. But Ripple's CTO, David Schwartz, he confirmed the company's CBDC platform can interact with the XRP ledger and the XRP token. But he also said that there's no guarantee that central banks will use the bridge. However, he mentioned that the company's approach was to remove technical barriers and allow users to use XRP if they chose to, rather than forcing them to. Because if you force a central bank to say you have to use XRP and they're coming up with their CBDC, they won't want to do that. But if you allow them the option to choose, then they'll realize why XRP is better for speed, efficiency, and cost. And Schwartz also said that this will make for a better product experience with banks deploying their CBDCs on the XRP ledger. So instead of disrupting the banking system, Ripple's founders are looking to help it become more efficient. And as you guys know, cryptocurrencies, the main marketing pitch for crypto has been to disrupt centralized systems like the banking system, whereas Ripple's doing the exact opposite. So common sense would suggest that centralized banks and global powers that be don't want to let that go that easily. And if they have the power, they have the money, what would they rather partner with? A company that's saying, we're going to kick you guys out of business, or a company that's saying, hey, let us help you guys expand your business? It's pretty obvious at this point. They'd rather partner with something like Ripple, because Ripple is therefore better positioned to facilitate the transaction needs of massive financial businesses, banks, and versus cryptocurrencies that are just trying to disrupt everything. And so I'll quote what David Schwartz said to somebody who asked, if banks use Ripple for payments but don't need to buy XRP, then who will buy XRP? And why will its price increase if banks aren't required to buy XRP? Does it even make sense to invest in XRP? And will Ripple's actions, partnering with massive banks to issue their CBDCs through the XRP ledger, even affect XRP's price? So that's a really good question. We've got that a lot on our video. So here's what he said, and I quote, "We believe that we've built a payment system called RippleNet that's much better than existing payment systems that banks will use it. But the payments still have to be settled somehow. And typically that's going to mean through correspondent banks in Nostro and Vostro accounts. And this is expensive and it's very, very slow. So as RippleNet grows, there will be more and more payments that have no technical obstacles to being settled by XRP instead of the old and the slower way. Then as we make XRP work for those corridors, as they've already done with XRapid and like USD to the Mexican peso, those payments can easily settle through XRP. And so this solves the chicken and the egg problem, and very big banks were interested in a payment system that could only settle where XRP was usable. And so a lot of banks actually want to use XRP, and very few market makers were interested in building liquidity where there were very few payments. And so if we're successful with this strategy and XRP is used as a settlement currency for some fraction of RippleNet payments, then that could set up sources of demand for XRP. And the most common example that he uses is a company like Uber that has to make lots of payments around the world and benefit significantly from being able to make those payments quickly. So if XRP is a settlement asset for corridors that end with currencies that Uber holds, they can buy XRP at a profit by waiting for someone to need to pay into one of the currencies they hold and delivering that currency in exchange for XRP the sender bought. So in other words, they wait for someone who needs to go, say, through like the US dollar through XRP, then to Mexican peso, and they provide the Mexican peso and take the XRP in exchange. And they can buy at a profit because they're facilitating someone else's payment and making a spread on that difference. And very similar to, how the SWIFT system works or wire transfers, specifically where banks would charge, the customer $25 and then they would have a net profit on that based on what the receiving banks would charge, the intermediary banks would charge. They could use the XRP ledger and it'd be much cheaper through XRP. They could still charge a similar competitive price point that other banks charge for a wire transfer, except it would be much faster and they'd have a higher profit margin using XRP. Then when they need to make a payment, instead of going, say, through like the Mexican peso through XRP to HK, they would pay with XRP and only go, XRP to HKD. So this saves them one spread, reducing their payment costs for transfers. And notice that this strategy only works if they hold XRP. They have to buy XRP when other people want to make payments and sell XRP when they need to make a payment. And so it takes a pile of XRP to adapt the timing, and it's this adaptation that's the source of the cost savings. So this could also mean that they need just one pile of XRP instead of a pile of Mexican pesos to make payments in the Mexican peso and a pile of HKD to make payments in HKD and so on. And that could be a significant cost savings as well too. And that's just one way adoption of XRP as a settlement asset could cause significant increases in demand for holding XRP. And the company initially had two payment processing systems based on RTXP named XRapid and XVIA, and these eventually merge into the company's mainnet called RippleNet. So Ripple uses RippleNet to conduct transactions on the XRP ledger technology for banks and financial institutions in a seamless way that can be verified by everyone involved. And many international banks are integrated into RippleNet, and any bank joining the network can access several other banks to trade with it. And India's federal bank teamed up with Ripple even a few years ago for international payments amongst tons of other federal, commercial and even smaller regional banks around the world. And just recently, Ripple added Warren Jensen, who's the former chief financial officer of Amazon.com, to its board of directors. And Jensen used to work at Amazon, worked at Delta Airlines, NBC, Electronic Arts, and Nielsen. He will not only be on the board, but will also lead the audit committee, which makes sure that Ripple's operations are audited properly. And this move is important because Jensen has a strong history of handling finances for other successful companies. This is not his first rodeo, obviously. The board at Ripple already includes other well-respected people like former US Treasurer Rosie Rios, former JP Morgan Chase Chief Regulatory Affairs Officer Sandy O'Connor, and many others. And Brad Garlinghouse, the CEO of Ripple, and Jensen both seem very, very excited about this partnership, believing it'll be beneficial, obviously. And in other crypto news, you see what happened with US Senator Cynthia Lumens, along with several crypto lobbying groups, and a group of professors are urging the federal court to dismiss the lawsuit filed by the SEC against Coinbase. And in these Friends of the Court briefs, they claim that the SEC is overstepping its authority by alleging that exchanges like Coinbase are unregistered securities exchange brokers and clearinghouses trading unregistered securities. And Coinbase has already made arguments in its motion to dismiss the case, which these amicus briefs are echoing various organizations, including the Blockchain Association, Crypto Council for Innovation, and several academic institutions have filed a total of 6 briefs supporting the dismissal. And the SEC has filed similar lawsuits, against not only just Coinbase, but Binance, including Binance.us earlier this year. And Coinbase's motion to dismiss argued that the transactions in question didn't meet the definition of an investment contract and thus did not violate securities laws. So similar to how Ripple said XRP didn't meet the definition of an investment contract and did not violate securities laws, well, Coinbase is in a different situation because they're not just filing this lawsuit about one cryptocurrency, they're filing about multiple altcoins. So Coinbase does have a little bit tougher of a battle here because the SEC only needs one altcoin to be considered a security. And the amicus briefs highlighted that the SEC's stance could affect crucial economic, political, and legal questions being considered by Congress and other agencies. And they argue that such decisions should be made through a collaborative process rather than the SEC's proposed broad interpretation and its authority and regulation by enforcement rather than due process. So Congress needs to step in here, and the briefs represent a recent Supreme Court case that emphasized regulatory agencies couldn't exceed their mandate without congressional approval. However, other federal judge overseeing a separate SEC case against a different crypto platform recently rejected similar arguments, stating that the crypto industry's significance doesn't match those Supreme Court precedents. And its uncertainty if Congress will rapidly address broader crypto regulation or not is still in question. They're not really doing anything. Maybe they're focused on Ukraine or sending money over there. I don't know. And while committees have advanced legislation addressing certain issues, the Senate's divided nature makes passage uncertain, at least for now. And Loomis's brief points out that she and Senator Killibrand have introduced bills to specify the SEC's jurisdiction, recognizing that the crypto industry doesn't entirely fit current securities laws. And so the next major move in the crypto market that will tip the scales for regulation and liquidity to flow into these markets that you guys are wondering about, when are we going to go into the next major bull run? Well, it's a Bitcoin exchange traded fund, an ETF, receiving approval in the United States. And similar approvals might follow in Hong Kong and other parts of Asia as well too. And critics are arguing though that Bitcoin ETFs might have disadvantages such as the inability to withdraw the underlying instrument, limiting holders' control over their funds because companies like BlackRock or Fidelity would hold them and paper trade them, and you wouldn't actually have self-custody. That's why it's important to hold your keys, right? If it's not your keys, it's not your crypto. You don't want to keep your crypto on centralized exchanges, and that's not financial advice, that's just common sense, right? If a centralized exchange holds your crypto, they also hold your private keys. And if they go out of business, they can take your crypto, similar to what happened with FTX or any other company that shuts down. And in Canada, the Purpose Bitcoin ETF actually gained over 400 million within 2 days of launch, indicating the growing potential and mainstream acceptance of crypto as an asset class. And ETFs can drive market maturity. The positives of them, it would establish more price stability and stronger support floors, so you don't see these drastic 80 to 90% crashes like we've seen in the past bear market cycles for Bitcoin from top to bottom. And it would allow massive innovation in the crypto market and institutions to dive in. And crypto ETFs would attract a diverse range of investors and lead to institutional grade custody solutions. So the demand for institutional solutions is rising as traditional financial institutions enter the crypto space. They need companies like BlackRock or Fidelity that they're used to dealing with to believe in it. And Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, is saying that it's basically digital gold. So it's only a matter of time. It's inevitable. It's undeniable at this point. All the facts are out there. And that's why we cover them daily on our channel, because fully licensed digital asset custodians are evolving to offer comprehensive services and integral digital assets into business operations safely and compliantly. They're just waiting on the SEC to give them the green light. Regulatory challenges exist in the US though, because of concerns about fraud, market manipulation with Sam Bankman-Fried through FTX, and which companies are to trust, which projects are to trust, leading to rejections of crypto ETF proposals because they haven't given all the information that they need to be closely monitored and tracking all the customers. And globally, regulatory frameworks for digital assets are becoming clearer, setting the stage for digital asset hubs and more involvement vehicles through crypto ETFs, specifically over in Europe through their MiCA framework. And it's only a matter of time before BlackRock is approved in the United States. And just like an example that I can give you guys, if this might sound overcomplicated, that's completely fine. You don't have to understand anything, but think about it this way. When the 4-minute mile was broken by Roger Bannister, people previously, before that, didn't believe that it was possible, but because he believed it was possible, once he did it, then there were thousands of high school athletes breaking the 4-minute mile shortly after that because they knew that it was possible. So similarly to, a company or an institution or an asset manager like BlackRock, right? Their ETF getting approved would be like breaking the 4-minute mile. Tons of other ETFs would most likely get the green light shortly after, and the wall of institutional money would come flying in a lot faster than you think. That's why it's important to be ready for this, because the next bull run will be triggered by the approval of Bitcoin ETFs, central bank adoption of distributed ledger technology, the ISO 20022 standard with SWIFT, regulatory clarity happening, different bills being passed by Congress, media attention, because BlackRock owns the media. If their ETF gets approved, you best believe they're going to have the media companies start pushing that again, and then that's going to create a retail frenzy. But the institutions are already going to be ready before then, because institutions, they back up the truck first. They push narratives to the media, then the media covers it. The retail people come in later, and then the institutions are already out of the markets before the retail investors even know what hit them by the time we get to the euphoria stage. Also, what the Federal Reserve does next with their interest rates to combat inflation leading into 2024, and major network upgrades to different blockchain projects to keep attracting more users and developers. So either way, whatever happens at this BRICS meeting coming up, the time is now to embrace this revolution and back up the truck all the way to the bank, grab the bags, pack them and stack them, leave no bags left behind, because the spending power of the dollar is going down in value. That's a fact. Blockchain technology is going up in value. That's the truth. And together, we're all going camping on the beaches of the moon. I will see you on the next video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you want to see more updates like this. As always, you know what to do. Stay bullish.